Okay, well, we'll start. Delighted to say joining us for the final morning of press conferences. We've got Harry Herbert nearest to me, who's racing advisor to the Al Shikab racing team, and Joseph O'Brien, of course, who will be riding Rule of the World, amongst others, for his father, Aidan. But Harry, first of all, coming into getting the Derby winner and buying him, presumably it wasn't the cheapest thing you've ever paid for, but a privilege to be part of the Derby winner and maybe winning the world's richest horse race, which will pay for the investment.
No, it's very, very exciting. And Sheikh Joanne said that, weeks and weeks ago when I first joined the organisation in December, that he would love to have a horse competing in Al Shikab Silks in the World Cup in March, and it's sort of rather been on the look ever since, and thought that we'd failed dismally until literally in the last few days. So it's been very, very swift and very exciting, and thankfully everything is done in time, because when you're backs to the wall, as it were, time-wise, trying to get a deal of this magnitude done, it's not easy. But everyone was fantastic, and the Coolmore team and John Magnier were amazing and very welcoming. So it's exciting.
So in many ways, when did you put the first call into the Coolmore team and saying, any chance? I mean, I don't know how it goes, how it works, but how does it
I couldn't possibly tell you all of that inside information, but no, it's very much done, from the top, from Sheikh Joanne and discussing with John Magnier, and conversations with Paul Shanahan and Nasser Al-Kabi and part of the team, and then, like all these things, it's a question of tidying up the fine detail and getting the funds to go to the right place at the right time.
When you announced last year, you said the reason you wanted this job was because you were able to go and be racing at the top table. This is presumably proves that point. And given the year you also had last year with some of the other horses, this is a further confirmation of the sort of intention of the Al Shikab operation.
Yeah, it's been made quite clear that that's the intention. We all know that's easier said than done. And part of any plan going forward has to be as a sort of mix. Or obviously, you're buying your yearlings, you're buying brood mares, and a very new team, a new organisation in the game. But you've also got to look to try and buy into proven horses if you can. And last year with Trev, getting the show on the road, and Olympic Glory and Toronado in particular, really got the Sheikh going, and then Al Shikab was created, and the new Silks, and then Doubday winning the Emir's Trophy was the first runner in the Silks, and Frankie's first big ride. Sort of in those silks, it was a sort of dream come true, and it's all a building process. And so to be involved in this horse, a Derby winner, and going into the world's richest horse race, is significant, and I think very important that there's this teaming up with Coolmore is a very good thing.
And in your racing career, have you ever had a run being involved in the Dubai World Cup race itself before?
We had Petrushka was favourite in 2000, I think it was, and she chipped a bone in her fetlock in her last piece of work. She worked brilliantly, and she was hot favourite. It was at agony, but everyone still came over. There were only about 3 hotels at the time, and but all the owners came over despite that, and we had another runner in the UAE Derby that year. And anyone who's been lucky enough to have been involved with anything to do with a runner over here knows how exciting it is, and it's as good an international race meeting as there is. So that's been it for me.
Right. Well, Joseph, if you help pay the bills, you need to win by the sound of things. No pressure then. So just confirming how the horse is and capable of giving a good account of himself. That's presumably obviously the primary aim.
Yes, no, he seems in good form. He's been working nicely coming into the race, and he's travelled good, and he just did a trot in the hack this morning. He moved well, and we're very happy with him.
Obviously, the key element is you've not been dealt the great hand with the draw, probably, but what about the surface as well? What's your gut instinct and your knowledge of the horse?
Yeah, it's very hard to know. He's a very good attitude, and he takes things in his stride. He's quite a laid-back horse. So in that sense, that'll probably stand to him, but it's impossible to know until they go and actually race on the surface whether they handle it or not. Like you say, the draw isn't ideal. You'd love to have a better draw, but it is what it is, and he's quite an uncomplicated horse, and hopefully that can stand to him.
And obviously, the Dubai World Cup night is an extraordinary night with all the buzz and everything, but obviously we know this horse can deal with Razzmatazz having won the English Derby.
Yes, definitely. I suppose a lot of people forget that this time last year he'd never seen a race course. So it's a massive, that just shows the attitude that the horse has, that he can take things in his stride. And we're hoping that he'll handle the surface and be able to overcome what isn't an ideal draw. But like I say, you don't know until he goes to the track and actually does it.
But this sort of the team post the Derby didn't manage to find that elusive win, but was the team, when you look, obviously the Derby, the high point, but you feel there's plenty more potential and he's wintered well.
Yes, he seems to have wintered well. Duke of Marmalade, his brother, improved a lot from 3 to 4, and there's nothing to suggest to say this horse shouldn't. Like I say, he's done plenty of work at home, but he hasn't done anything crazy or to see how much he has improved or not improved. So like I say, he's ready to start, and we're looking forward to getting him on the track for his first run of what hopefully will be a long season.
Well, just quickly mention a couple of other rides that you've got. Magician, obviously trying to win back-to-back Shima Classics for the team, having Sir Nicholas Abbey winning it last year. Your Breeders' Cup Turf winner again, wintered well?
Yes, again he seems in good form, of a nice draw. He's an uncomplicated horse, and he loved the fast ground, so we're hoping he can run a good race.
And presumably your father's flying in for about 5 hours while you enjoy yourself in the sun. Is that how did that work in the dynamics? Dad, I'm off.
I ride out Rule of the World every day at home. So when he was coming, I came to ride him out. So that's the way that worked. But yeah, Dad's getting in the morning.
And so, son, have you got a real soft spot because you ride him every morning? Have you the sort of empathy you now have with the horse?
Yes, no, yeah, definitely. I probably rode him nearly every morning since well into last summer. So no, he's a lovely horse and he's a great ride. So he's a joy to have anything to do with, really.
Does that fill you with confidence, Harry?
Huge, but I'm the only one that's to blame for anything which is the draw. It's the only thing I've had anything to do with. But of course, Animal Kingdom did win from stall 12 last year.
Well, there you go. So, right. Any more questions?
Yeah, Joseph, you have the 2 speed horses in the race drawn on either side of you, probably. Where do you expect positioning in the early going?
If they're going very quick, I'll take my time a little bit. If the pace isn't too quick, I don't have to be too far back. My line's quite uncomplicated, and I think I'll play it by ear.
Joseph, I know you spoke about the surface, but did you learn anything from this morning's?
Not really. I literally just did a trot in the canter around. He stretched his legs. He's in good form, and he moved very well. And in that sense, we learned that. But insofar as if he'll handle the surface or not, it's impossible to know until they actually race on it.
Joseph, I mean, with that in mind, you've obviously come here to race. I mean, what are the factors behind you thinking that you will have it?
Well, he's a great attitude, and anything that has been thrown at him, he's taken in his stride. Like I say, he won the Derby on only his third ever start, and he only ran in a maiden and a 3 or 4 runner race at Chester. So like I say, he's taken things in his stride before, and there's no reason to suggest that he shouldn't. But you still don't know until they go and actually race on it.
Are you concerned about the fact that he hasn't had a race?
Probably he'd love to have a prep run, but we're hoping that it's going to be a long season for him, and there's plenty of big races throughout the year that we're hoping he can be very competitive in. So in that sense, we would be hoping he can improve from the run. But he's ready to do himself justice, and like I say, we hope that's what he does.
Just out of interest, why have you gone for the World Cup and not maybe Shima Classic instead?
Well, I suppose Magician won the mile and a half, the turf in the Breeders' Cup, and it seemed the logical place to go with him. And Rule of the World ran a massive race in the Champion Stakes, a mile and a quarter. So.
Yeah, favouritism for the horse in the international markets has drifted a tad since the draw, but like you say, Animal Kingdom won from 12. I mean, really is the draw, considering Animal Kingdom can do it.
Well, listen, you'd love to have a good draw, and that's the long and short of it. It's not ideal. If someone asked you to choose, you certainly wouldn't have chose 12. But it is what it is, and like I say, hopefully the race can develop in such a way that it's not too big of a disadvantage. But like I say, it is what it is now, and we have to make the best of it.
You have a stablemate in the Shima Classic and Festive Cheer. Are you expected to be out the back with Magician like he was in the Breeders' Cup Turf when Ryan was on?
Yeah, Magician is a mile and a half is probably as far as well, it is as far as he's gone, and as far as he wants to go, I'd imagine. His dam was a sprinter, but he's quite uncomplicated once he relaxes and get him into a rhythm. Festive Cheer has a massive each way chance, I think. He was third in Irish Derby, a bit unlucky not to be second. He was quite disappointed in Epsom for whatever reason. We thought he'd run a good race, but whether it was the track or whatever, he didn't fire on that day. But he's a horse that has an outside chance, and people probably haven't really seen it.
Joseph, you've got two other riders in the Only and Penitent. What can you tell us about those?
I don't know much about Penitent. I haven't rode him before. He ran a nice race in the race last year. I have a good draw, so obviously I'll speak to the owners and David more tomorrow, but hopefully he can run a nice race. Ernest Hemingway, I love the fast ground. I think he'll get the trip. He's well entitled to take his chance. Cavalryman looked very good the last day, so whether we can beat him or not is in the unknown, but I'm hoping he can run a good race.
Harry, Dub Day, real impressive in Qatar. What do you think is the goal beyond here? I know there was a mention of maybe New York. What's the plan for him after this?
I think we want to see how he gets on. He's he's a difficult horse to place ratings-wise at the moment because he appears to be, a rather typical Dubawi that's improving at a rate of knots, and the only real sort of obvious form tie-in, beating very nice name, is he called, who was placed last year. But he is improving, and he's acclimatised obviously here. He loves fast ground, so hopefully he's a very big price obviously for the race. But he just could spring a surprise and run a decent race. But from that, we'll obviously get to gauge his rating and where we are in the big picture, hopefully. So the plan will probably be to bring him back to England. That's the feeling of the Sheikh at the moment. But there is the possibility that we'll go to the States with him, and obviously he's won in tighter tracks, fast ground, and that whole turf schedule in Belmont is very very attractive all throughout the States, but especially the new series of races. So I'd be quite keen to keep that to the forefront of discussions.
Joseph, I know you don't ride him, but can you just say something on how Giovanni has done?
Yeah, he's done well. He seems to be working nicely. Little setback after the Breeders' Cup, and he's a bit of a break, and he's working well. The trip is an unknown. He's a lot of pace. He's by no means a horse that needs a mile and 1 or a mile and a quarter. He's paced for 7 and definitely a mile. So the trip is probably the question mark, but we're hoping he can run a good race.